We talk transportation on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, March 28th, 2013. I'm Sarah Colvin. Glenn Cannon is the Technical Services Director for the Cape Cod Commission. He's a transportation engineer who's working on a number of improvement projects here in town and beyond. He joined us on this morning's episode of Barnstable this morning to talk about the Unified Planning Work Program. We bring you that interview now here on Barnstable Today. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Colvin. It's time for our transportation segment. This week I welcome the Cape Cod Commission's Director of Technical Services, Glenn Cannon, to the studio. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you? I'm good, thanks. So today we're going to talk about some of the functions that the Cape Cod Commission performs, and one of those things is that you're working on is the UPWP.
Yes.
Tell me what is the UPWP?
Yeah, it's the Unified Planning Work Program that the Cape Cod Commission undertakes every year. We do it in response to both MassDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, helping us with funding to assist cities and towns across Cape Cod with projects that they're in need of. You know, similar to the Hyannis Access Study that we've been able to work cooperatively with the community here. And there's even small scale things. You know, we go out and take a look at stop signs or pavement conditions. But there's a lot of work that goes into that program that we need to develop throughout the year so we can have these projects ready. It's a written scope of work with MassDOT, so you know we actually write down the projects we're going to deliver to them to make sure that we're following through on what we say we're going to do. You know that's good and bad. It keeps us on track. It also limits us sometimes. I could tell you, last year with the canal area crossing and the closing of the bridge, that was a major undertaking by our department that wasn't anticipated.
Right.
So we didn't have it in the UPWP as a task, but we put significant resources into that project. You know, and thank goodness, you know, MassDOT recognized that, and you know they were flexible with that.
Sure. How does the UPWP differ from other, you know, traffic plans? I mean, obviously you have something like the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, and you mentioned the Hyannis Access Study. Is this more of a refined view, or is this more of an overlook than those other types of things?
Well, within the UPWP, we have that's where the money is also that pays commission staff to take care of the TIP and to make sure those projects are moving forward. The other projects that are in there are generally larger scale projects that need significant resources. And what we're really looking for is that these are the planning projects that go forward before we bring the project to the TIP or to design and then to construction. So that's usually how it goes. And we go from planning, you know, once you make sure you have consensus from the neighborhood, from the town, and then you move to, you know, you have a significant contribution for design money. You know, when we talk about anything from an intersection, which could be, you know, $100,000 for design,
right,
to construction, where you could be talking about $1 million for construction. So, you know, it's step by step, and this is really the first step on significant transportation projects.
Indeed, and so this is, you work with MassDOT, you have some money from the federal government, and this is within the Unified Planning Work Program. You work with individual towns on the Cape as well, and they meet with you and talk about their priorities? Correct.
We reach out to every town on Cape Cod. You know, we do like to make sure that we are distributing our resources across Cape Cod. You know, makes it very difficult, as I've talked to you in the past. There are many needs in the infrastructure world, but we want to make sure we're being fair to all aspects of Cape Cod. And also, you know, you also see, if you can look at the end of the day, the significant resources usually do go to the Upper Cape and the Mid Cape area where there are more significant infrastructure needs that require larger dollars. You get out more to the Outer Cape, we're still trying to help them, we're still trying to assist them, but you aren't really looking at, you know, at either new interchanges or, you know, new roadway construction. It's more smaller scale, but you know, still, we want to make sure we're assisting those towns also.
Exactly, and certainly, I mean, I'm thinking about, as you were talking, thinking about the kind of newly revamped intersection by the new Stop and Shop here in Hyannis. And yesterday I was sitting there at the lights and saw a couple of tractor trailers go by, some car transports, and you know, lots of people going to and from areas, and you really don't see that as much on the Outer Cape as you do in downtown Hyannis.
Correct. You know, I mean, I know last year we did a Route 6 study in Wellfleet for the town of Wellfleet. You know, it's interesting as we move through the project and we move forward in front of the selectmen and the decision makers in Wellfleet. They really didn't want to see a series of traffic signals on Route 6 because, you know, they thought that was taking away from the character of their community. So,
exactly.
You know, so we respect that, make sure we're moving forward and try to put solutions out in front of them that that still help the community but don't have that significant impact. Where, in downtown Hyannis, this is the commercial center of Cape Cod. You have a different feel to it. You certainly have a higher volume of traffic.
Indeed.
So you have to be more accommodating to that, and there are structures that have to be in place.
Absolutely. So, in continuing to talk about the UPWP, about how long does that process last? And is it something you do every year?
It is something we do every year. Again, it goes by the federal fiscal year, so we don't actually begin the next UPWP till October 1st. However, right now we're soliciting towns for their projects to move forward. We actually, MassDOT and the Federal Highway Department like us to start thinking about it and even voting on what we're going to do this spring. So in April and May, we'll be bringing it both to the JTC and then to the MPO to vote for it. And then then that locks us in for what we're going to be doing next year. Doesn't mean there aren't amendments to it. Again, there is, MassDOT is flexible. We had the canal area last year. Who knows what will come up this year? But there'll be something that we don't anticipate. It happens all the time. That we have to be able to respond to.
Absolutely. Glenn, can we talk a little bit just about the Cape Cod Commission and how you interact with towns? Of course, we've been talking about this UPWP, and that really is one way in which you help and really serving as that regional planning organization. And we were talking off air about how here in Barnstable we do have some engineers on staff, but not every Cape town has that, and so that they can go to you to be able to do those types of things.
Correct. I think the town of Barnstable is very fortunate. I know Roger Parsons, the town engineer, a good engineer, very knowledgeable on transportation. I work a lot with Steve Seymour out of growth management, another gentleman who's very knowledgeable in transportation. We still assist the town of Barnstable, help them any way we can. We like to work cooperatively with them because they are good to work with. But the other towns don't really have the resources to be able to hire a transportation engineer, so the Cape Cod Commission can provide those services. Again, we need to spread it out. We need to make sure we're not sending all our resources to one town. But I think it helps throughout Cape Cod because they have a transportation professional who can advise them on projects and how to get projects moving forward without them having to retain an engineer for their own services. So I think it's a regional entity that people don't always think about.
Absolutely, and we were talking too about how the transportation improvements can be something as simple as installing more stop signs or directions or lane markings, to something as large as the Hyannis Access Study, which we're going to see in the next decade.
Correct, and that's one of the things. Every year in the UPWP, we always put a little bit of money just for technical assistance because we get 20 requests a year for the smaller scale projects that don't need an individual study. An engineer can go out and take a look at it, make an assessment within a few hours, and go back to the town engineer or the DPW director in that town and give them recommendations for what they think can improve the situation fairly quickly. There's a lot of regulations and signs and lines, pavement markings and then the signs that can help significantly. And lots of times there's site issues with brush. And if you just do some clearing, you really don't need to reconfigure an intersection. You just need to clear some brush out of the way, and that helps a lot.
Exactly, trim some trees or make it a little easier for people to see.
Correct, make it a little easy for them to see, be able to get out of their side street.
Great. Well, Glenn, I thank you so much, as always, for joining us here on Barnstable this morning. A pleasure to have you as part of our guest rotation. Thank you so much for coming by.
Oh, no problem, Sarah. My pleasure.
Thank you. My guest today, of course, Glenn Cannon, Director of Technical Services for the Cape Cod Commission. I'm Sarah Colvin.